welcome to Race Industry Now, the weekly webinar series from ePowerTrade, presented to you by ARP, Performance Plus Global Logistics, Feria, PIC, Quire, and Fifth Third Bank Motorsports. I am Francisque Savignan, the founder and CEO of ePowerTrade, the racing industry, every minute, every day. This is episode 458, and we're going to be talking with Shopmonkey. With me this morning are Judy Kin, the co-founder of ePowerTrade, and our superstar host, three-time NASCAR crew chief champion, Mr. Jeff Hammond. Judy?
Thank you, Francisque, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm really excited to hear about this software. This Shopmonkey has come on so strong and successful in such a short amount of time. I've never seen it in my 26 years in this industry. So I'm excited to learn more about the solutions that they offer shop owners. Secondly, I want to just say we are so proud to have Prower Cams on board with us, sponsoring Race Industry Now and Race Industry Week later on this year. Jeff?
Good morning, both you and Francis. And yes, we're once again joined by our fine friends at Shopmonkey. And I think the thing is that you said a key word right there, Judy, solution. I think right now we realize how important what they have brought into the industry is. And the key thing about it is right now, I think they figured out more stuff about solutions for everybody's business out there. And I think we're going to be really blessed today with this, with our webinar.
And you know, Jeff, they just don't have a great software. They have a team that understands this industry, the performance and racing industry. So how much better can it be?
It's hard to say, but I think right now we're going to be joined by Brett Kinsfather. And I think, Brett, you can share a little bit about what's been going on at Shopmonkey.
You're on mute, Brett.
Sorry about that. All right.
That's okay.
Okay, so yeah, really, thank you for the time today and allowing us to be here. It sounds like we got a great opportunity to kind of share a little bit about what's new, but I'm most excited about being able to then hand things off to Tad, who KSR has been an amazing customer, and I think he has an unbelievable story to be sharing with you guys today. So I'm happy to jump in, share a little bit about what's new, and then let you guys take it from there if that works for you all.
It sounds great to me as far as that's concerned. The other gentleman you're seeing in there on our screen today.
All right.
Tad Timbrook, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be here, Jeff. Looking forward to visiting for a little bit.
So Brett, go ahead and give us an update on your perspective from where you guys are at with Shopmonkey at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to, if you guys don't mind, I'm just going to share my my screen and talk over what it is that that I just wanted to show off a little bit. Is that working for you all?
I see it.
Okay, great. So there's a couple of things that I think are going to be really important. One or two things that I know I've heard Tad talk about before that I just want to make mention of that I think is going to be really important for people to know. And then a couple quick things on what's new with us. So I promise to keep this short because it's really Tad's story that's the most important thing here. So number one, we want to make sure that our customers have the ability to not only lead, but also control the conversations with their customers and be able to emphasize and show the value that they're bringing to the table. So we wanted to make that as easy as possible for people to do. So what we've done is we've started adding some AI tools into our product, which I think is really cool. And it allows the user to quickly engage at that moment without delay what is actually going on with a build, with a project, so on and so forth, without having to sit down and type everything out. That AI tool can go ahead and create that text for you. And you, of course, have full editing capabilities of that. So you have the final say, but it's kind of doing the heavy lifting there. The other thing, though, that I think is really important is being able to have complete, easily accessible knowledge and expertise of not only your customers, but also the vehicle builds that you're working on. So with our 2.0 platform that we are in the process of rolling out, you have the ability from one page to access not only the order, the job that you're working on, but be able to access and have full information right there from that page on your customer, as well as the project or the vehicle that you're working on, and that full history at your fingertips. So it's about speed, it's about efficiency. Now, the last things I want to talk about, which is brand new with our marketing suite product that we've rolled out, is a couple different things. Number one, as you're going to hear with KSR, not everybody can be a YouTube sensation, and not everybody has that skill, but there are some things that you can control for yourself online. We want to make sure that you have a very friendly, easy digital handshake that's really taking place. So we've got some chatbots in place that you can put onto your website. You can build websites. So that first impression where someone's wanting to learn a little bit more about your business, your availability, are you able to take on new projects, so on and so forth, can all be done in the background based upon information that you're loading up. Probably more important, though, is Google reviews. Again, not everybody can be a YouTube sensation. So whether you are a high-end builder or whether you are just starting out and a craftsman getting their first go around with their shop, you still need to be able to build those reviews. So what we've done, again, by utilizing AI, is making that process quick and easy, where responses are automatically created. You have complete control over what you want to be said, but it's operating right away. So that engagement is always occurring. And one thing I do want to make mention of engagement before we hand things over to Tad. I've been watching these guys for a long time. And one thing I've noticed is I've never seen somebody who's making YouTube videos engage the Q&A or the comment section nearly as much as KSR does. And I think that's one of the things that makes them uniquely special and uniquely authentic in the online space. So hats off to them and what they're doing there. And I just want to make mention that that's so important when it comes to online reviews and everything else that's happening. It's that engagement that's really important. So we want to make that easy for you guys. And the last thing I want to make mention of is, look, the aftermarket, the performance industry, it can be seasonal. So there's peaks and there's valleys. And we want to make sure that people can enjoy the peaks, but you can also raise those valleys when it comes to business. So whether you have bottlenecks that are based around parts availability or budgets or anything like that, you can now utilize Marketing Suite to market to, through email and through text, your customers, whether it's bringing them back to complete builds or whether it's new parts that are coming out that they've had their eye on that they want to add to their vehicle, so on and so forth. So some really cool marketing stuff that is brand new. Now, that all said, thank you for allowing me to talk a little bit about that. And unless you have any questions, I'd like to hand things on over for the real story here.
Well, thank you, Brett. That's a good summary and give us a good idea of how much further you come down the road with Shopmonkey. And yeah, Tim and I had an opportunity to have a conversation this morning, and I'm really excited about bringing him on here because I think his his insight and the success that he has had with Shopmonkey, I think he is taking it to another level. And Tim, like you and I were talking about earlier today, tell us a little bit about KSR. You know, how did it start, and where did it come from? Everything about your business.
I will do that, and I'm excited to get that opportunity. I was kind of joking. Kevin and I were talking yesterday about doing this, and because we do have a presence on YouTube, we kind of could call this the behind the scenes, because you kind of you see the YouTube aspect of the company, and we've really been in a neat opportunity to have 300,000 subscribers and done a lot of things with Cletus McFarland. So that's been cool. But I'm going to take us back just a little bit, because I think the getting here is what's so crucial. People look at sometimes, wow, look at someone that's done this or done that. But I think some of the inner workings can apply to anyone. Kevin and I have known each other probably 25 years. There's 15 years difference. He's 15 years younger than me. I know it's hard to believe, but he's 15 years younger than me. And when he was first starting to drive at 15, 16 years old, I was already hot rodding around, messing with cars, building some stuff. So he was coming over and we were talking about things and he was learning. And I was giving him a little bit of knowledge I had of the old time way of doing things back, 100 years ago. And so we had that relationship and know his dad, know some things like that. I went the business route and he went deep into automotive. And Kevin Smith is one of those guys that's self-taught in fabrication and welding and tuning. It's just who he is. I just naturally gravitated to business, even though I love automotive and enjoy that. But I into business development, traveled internationally, did a lot of different business acquisition things like that. But because I'm a car guy, I'm always keeping up with what's happening in the industry. Fast forward to about 4 years ago, Kevin and I reconnected on Facebook, as everybody does, just what's been going on. And I'd watched him a little bit. He said, Ted, we're going to be over in Sebring. They were racing Champ Car Series, and I'm going to be over there. And I was down in Stuart, Florida. He said, come over and see what we're doing. So I went over, hung out with them. Of course, it was awesome. It was great to be around that. But this is where it starts to get interesting. I'm a business guy. So even though we're there with cars, I can't help but ask business questions because, he's a friend. How's this? How's that? Well, I always joke that his answers weren't good. And it became very evident that he doesn't really like the business part of it. And that's not strange, right? Because he is really, he's talented, extremely talented at what he does. And in a weird way, business almost gets in the way. But we gravitate there, right? Because we have a talent, we have a thing, something we do. And so he gravitated into business. He was working for other people. And so he had been at it for a while. Try to make it quick. I come up to Gainesville, tour the shop, ask more questions. And he's got a shop full of projects and cars and yellow notepads around with oily and parts written down and all these things. And he's working his butt off. And he's got one-man band and one or two other once in a while that would show up. So he's trying to do all of that. So what started to happen was I said, hey, how would you entertain a business partner? He said, man, anybody that would do that kind of stuff, it would be awesome. So I took over, we business partnered up. I took over everything business-wise. And here's where it starts to get interesting. And we'll get into this a little bit. And this is where like Shopmonkey and these things become really important. One, I'm a small business guy. I love this stuff. And you really see people like Kevin that have lots of talent and they drowned in the business because maybe they didn't bring on a team of people. Maybe they didn't have someone around them to help make those things happen. And so what started to happen is things like even the YouTube and the business structure, because he could put more time into what he does well, and I could support all the business side of it, things started to really happen. And that's where actually I went shopping for how do I keep up with all this chaos of cars coming in and out and projects and everything else. I looked at everything I could find, and Shopmonkey kept coming back to me. And every time I looked at it, it's like, this is easy. Like I could go in, easily track what was happening with my customers and things like that. And I want to give them some real credit here. We're a different kind of shop, right? Shopmonkey was built somewhat around what I call, back then, a more traditional automotive repair shop. We're a strange animal, custom builds, right? So I drove them crazy with questions of how can I do this with your platform? How can I do that with your platform? And so in that process, we got KSR back in control to where we knew what was going on with customers, what was happening. I watched Kevin get deep into the relationship with Cletus McFarland. The YouTube channel just started to go because he was able to spend time there. Could have he ever done that without us teaming up? Possibly, but I can tell you that that's crucial when you bring some other people in if you're in a business trying to do way too much yourself and you're trying to cover too many bases. So that's kind of the backstory of between Kevin, me, how I got involved, and it's grown from there.
Well, let me just pause right there and ask you a quick question, and that is, you said you kept coming back to Shopmonkey. What was compelling besides what you just explained to us? How did it work as far as a small company? Because you and I were discussing this morning, sometimes small companies look at a program, oh my gosh, that's a computer. I can't deal with that. it's going to cost me way too much and I can't justify the expenditure. How did you get everybody to get in the same room and on the same page?
Well, a couple things. One, sometimes a little strong arming. And and I told Kevin early on, one, it really helped that him and I had a long time, together. So I told him early on, I said, I'm not going to do anything to hurt us, but we've got to, if we're going to grow, I've got a saying that I picked up from someone else somewhere. You can have control or you can have growth, but you can't have both. And it's really hard for us as guys and gals that are good at something is letting go, because boy, what if somebody doesn't do it as well? And so when I started looking at the different platforms, he said, okay, you do that, because I know that's not, he can't stand that kind of stuff, like the time it takes into that, because it just takes away from him doing what he does so well with the fabrication and things like that. So and the thing that Shopmonkey was for me looking at it was a today platform. And what I mean by a today platform is, I hate to say it, but there's a lot out there that have been around a long time. That's all great and good, but they become dinosaurs a little bit because the world has changed and communication has changed and everything else. And to me, Shopmonkey felt like something I was going to go on to today, an app that you would have, or something that was really, you could see what you're doing, you knew where you're going, it made a lot of sense, and all the others just seemed cumbersome. So yeah, Shopmonkey, it just made a lot of sense because it wasn't difficult. Even if you're not a big time computer guy, you can make sense of Shopmonkey. Now, I also will say, but if you're really good at something else you do in your business, go do that and bring someone on that is comfortable in that too, so that you can stay focused.
Again, when we were speaking this morning and I was reading some of the information about the upcoming webinar, the thing that came up, and I want you to explain to us, explain about your high performing shop playbook. I mean, how does that come to, evolve? And again, was that something that, you took a page out of Shopmonkey, or did it just happen to be there and you fit it into, so can you explain that to us?
Well, right out of the gate, one of the things we knew we had to do is, again, for us to get bigger, we had to lose some control to gain growth. And that means bringing some folks on. And so part of that playbook was getting comfortable. And Kevin and I had a lot of conversations around this, is allowing some other people to come in, even if they're not going to do it at the level that he is. This is what's hard for us, right? Is you start bringing some people in, and it does take some time, because maybe they don't do it. They probably don't do it like you do. I heard one time they said if you could get people to do something within 70% of what you can do, you already won. I think if they can be within 60% of what you can do, because we have these high expectations of trying to bring people in, to work and building our team, and it really takes time. And something I found that really worked well is, one, identifying each person's strengths and play to it. Be cautious not to bring on people and try to push them into an area, as you're hiring to build your team. Make sure that you're finding what their sweet spot is. And then I'm going to use a dirty word, delegation. It's really hard for a lot of us to delegate, and I'm one of them. And one of the things that I finally started to learn is that it doesn't mean delegation. You just go and you go, all right, I've been doing it myself all this time. I know exactly what I do. I'm just going to hand this to this guy and just trust that he's going to get it right, and we're not going to screw up a customer's project, or something's going to happen that's going to get us in trouble. And no, what you do is you actually stair step. As you start to delegate, the first delegation might be that you literally just say, hey, go gather me this information and then bring me back the information. Because now you've already doubled your time, right? It's all about how do you get your time doubled, tripled, quadrupled, right? So if you're doing already something else and you can bring someone else in and say, hey, go gather me this information and bring me back what you have, now you can make some decisions on that. That's first step. But already by that person doing that, you start to open up dialogue with your employee, and you can say, hey, you brought me this information. What would be your suggestions? So the employee can start to say, well, I would do this, this, or that. And then you can say, well, why would you pick that? And you slowly, over time, you build up to a point that you eventually, when they bring you a couple suggestions, you say, which one would you pick? I would do this. I agree. Go do it. And your goal is you hand them the project and you don't ever know what even happens. It happens. They do it. They finish it. They complete it, and they move on. When you start building a team of people that can almost get in your head, and I always tell people that getting in Kevin Smith's head is a very scary place to be. But he's a brilliant man. And so it's not easy to get there. But if you do spend the time with someone like that and you watch them and you train them along, eventually delegation doesn't have to be a dirty word. You can have folks in your team that can go out and do some things beyond you. And next thing you know, you've got 2, 3, 4 guys. And that's what KSR started to do. We've got like some young guys in there, and we've got 20-year-olds, all 20-year-olds. And you're like, oh my gosh, 20-year-olds. These guys are awesome. Like, they're welding as good as anybody I've seen, fabricating tremendously, and they've gone under Kevin's wing, and Kevin has just brought them along. So again, it's that building of the team.
So what I'm seeing here is this delegation step has to be able to, you got to understand your team. And then you got to trust your team to be able to accept the task that you give them. And through that trust, you're able to improve. And I guess you might say, make it work easy for you as you progress forward, because it's not a debate. It's just a matter of, I know I can give this to Robbie. Let's just say, Robbie's really good at this right here, but I'm going to respect his talent and let him kind of like make the choice of which way he wants to do it. And then kind of like give him your blessing. Is that right?
That's right. And it's okay that they make a mistake. I mean, they're going to have to. If you're not making mistakes, you're not doing anything, and we all know that. I love the thing that success leaves a trail. And so these are the things that you do, and you sometimes are going to be bumping along the road. But if you'll continue to stay, looking at what their talents are, bringing them along, that's how you build a team. And then we can get into it some a little bit, but there's some progresses that I think that if we put some processes in place as a business, it helps support, because at the end of the day, all the folks that you hire, the materials and the shop, the customers, it doesn't really matter if you don't have a process in place that you maintain those customers, that you build those relationships, that people come back. And that's crucial.
Coming up on your outline we've been looking at here, you got delegation, then number 2 is the organization itself. You want to break that down a little bit more for us, what that means?
Yeah, and this really gets into, I see this in all types of business, but let's do this. Let's keep it automotive. Let's keep it performance. There's a lot of performance little operations out there, and there's some great talented folks out there. And they kind of fall into their business, and it happens all the time. And so you really want to begin at the beginning of, I call it beginning with the end in mind. What are you actually looking to create? What type of business are you trying to create? What size are you looking to create? Things like we have the YouTube, that wasn't in Kevin's even psyche, 14 years ago. That wasn't even a thing. He wanted to be a really good fabricator, tuner, and everything else. And today, that's still who we are. A lot of times people see the YouTube and they go, wow, YouTube, you guys have 300,000 subscribers and everything else. And it's awesome. And it's a whole nother layer of our business, and the people that's brought in, fantastic. But still, at the end of the day, Kevin and I always talk about that our core business is turning out quality race cars, performance cars. That's who we are. And you don't want to have an identity crisis as a company. You got to start out knowing where you're going. If you already have a business and you've kind of got a hodgepodge mess and you don't have your financials put together and you don't have a team around you, I say slam on the brakes. If you really want that business to do well, slam on the brakes and regroup, because I see a lot of them out there that are just struggling daily. Things like Shopmonkey, that's where you spend money with things like Shopmonkey. You spend money with accountants. You spend money with software for accounting. You spend that money, because otherwise without that foundation, you'll never get beyond the struggle and the fight. Those little shops close down every day, little performance shops and everything else. Every day they close down, usually because I believe they just can't keep up with the information. They don't have enough knowledge. And so if they bring in the tools like a Shopmonkey, whether it be a QuickBooks or whatever you're using for your financials, is put that in place so that part happens anyway. That's the core part of the business. And the technology today makes it so much easier. I mean, it's the things we have like with Shopmonkey, with the accounting programs, but don't try to do that if you're also the guy that's out there turning the wrench, making it happen out there. Don't try to do it all, because ultimately you will run yourself ragged.
Okay, with that being said, and you've mentioned Shopmonkey, 3 or 4 times there. What I remember and what I know about Shopmonkey is they got one of the best outlines and the how to manage this. I mean, already laid out for you. It's very adaptable to about any kind of business that's not even a business yet. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you walk in, okay, what do I do? Do I call QuickBooks? To me, it's one-stop shopping with Shopmonkey. They got everything really scienced out to what you're looking for, no matter whether you're small or even whether you're big, and you're looking to be efficient and not having headaches of having to chase a whole lot of paperwork.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And when I use that term, is go ahead and focus on, being a big business, is a lot of people back into it rather than taking something like Shopmonkey, and it has everything. Like literally you go in, you invoice, you quote a customer, you can invoice a customer, you bill them right there. They pay you right there. Then that information actually transfers over to your QuickBooks. So then everything goes right into your QuickBooks for your accounting. You can send that right off or have your accountant go into it. Like those kind of things takes tons off of the old days of what you had to do with trying to keep up with the ledgers and everything else. But ultimately, you've got to put those things in place early. At least if you're starting a business today, a lot of people say, well, once I get going, then I'll do those things. No, like the first thing you do, like if you're going to start a performance or automotive shop, the first day I'd call Shopmonkey and understand their process, get that system, because then you're not going backwards. Unfortunately, when I told Kevin when we first got started, I said, Kevin, I'm going to be all in your underwear drawer. And he said, what do you mean by that? I said, because he was a typical small business. Everything was combined, right? Who he was and his finances and the business and all those things were combined. And that happens every day. I mean, I've seen a million shops and it's intertwined. You've got to pull that apart. And part of that pulling that apart is putting structures in place like a Shopmonkey and all these things, bank accounts, which we'll get into that a little bit. I'm a big stickler for, money is what kills you, whether you have it or don't have it. It's not, and you can get killed by having money in your business too, if you don't manage it properly. And we'll dive into that. But that's part of that foundational tools and thinking that you've got to do if you're going to stay in business and grow.
Well, I got to know this because, I think I got to bring this up to your attention. You use a phrase, hot rod hell. That's pretty in your face. Can you tell us about what that means and why it's important to our audience to know about it?
Well, when I mention what hot rod hell is, everyone's going to know what it means. As soon as I tell you this, your car goes into the shop and it never comes out. Like it is, and you've got two things happening. You've got a shop that's in turmoil and you've got a customer that's just ticked, right? And so it's hell on everybody. And if you read Hot Rod Magazine or you watch any kind of show, and you'll hear of millions, or you go on the internet, millions of stories. As my car's been in there for X amount of years, and it happens every day. So hot rod hell comes because a couple things. One, and this where it gets tricky, and this is hard, is if you're going to have customers mad at you, and I'll explain this, you want them mad at you outside the door, not inside the door. Here's what I mean, is that people do get aggravated that they can't get in your shop. We get it all the time. Being on YouTube, the downside or upside or whatever you want to look at it is we have tons of people coming to us. It's crazy. We can't do them all. Like there's just no way impossible. And people get aggravated. Like people get mad. Like, what do you mean you can't, bring my car in? But it's a lot better for them to be mad outside the door because you can't bring them in. But if you try to bring them in and like, well, I want to keep everybody happy and I'm just going to bring them in, and then they're sitting inside, it's a mental change with people. It's a different kind of mad when you got their car in hot rod hell. Like when their car's in prison, and here's where it gets really tricky, and the money is all tangled up. Oh, brother, lawsuits, struggle, everything else. So I'm going to dive into a couple things here because I'm passionate about this stuff. This is where I've had businesses and I've made a lot of mistakes, and that's why I'm where I am today, because I've learned from those mistakes. Money is where people get really mad, right? We all do. So the thing is that you've got to manage those dollars. If it's their money, it needs to stay their money. Here's how you do that, is you don't mix and mingle customers' money. So if they bring that car in and let's say write you a check for $5 or 50,000, and when you get that, that's not your money. You've got to do things like, one, you don't want to be the bank. So you don't want to be working and not have their money. So you don't be like, all right, well, I'll just bill you. Not a good plan. Yeah, maybe if you're doing a water pump, you can do that. In our business, we have $200,000 invoices. So when you're doing these kind of, and a lot of them are $30,000, $50,000, you don't want to be in a place where you are becoming a bank. And lo and behold, you go, oh, by the way, you owe us, $4,000. And they go, oh, God, it's a bad week, man. What do you mean it's a bad week? We need that $4,000. We've done all the labor, other work. So don't be the bank. So then how do you bring in their money? Don't put it in your operational account. Set up a project account. Those funds come in, they write you that $50,000 check. Put that into an account that is their money. If something goes sideways, let's say you brought their car in, you place $50,000 in that account, and you're not going to get to it for 2 weeks because, and they understand that, everybody understands, not getting to it for 2 weeks. And in that 2 weeks, their life changes. It happens. Somebody's sick, something else. They go, I need to come get my car. You know what you do? Here's your car. Here's your 50,000. Nobody's in trouble. No problems. But a lot of shops, you bring that in, you're like, wow, we brought in this 50,000. We're kind of behind over here. And you rob Peter, pay Paul. And all of a sudden you slide down a slippery slope and you're in trouble. So hot rod hell is sort of I call it a whole package. And the last piece to that is, and this is all making sure that everybody's on the same page, is that managed expectations. When you're going to bring that car in, one, make sure you understand what they're wanting and that they understand what you're going to do. Lay that out as best you can. Now, in our world, I'll tell you, it's really difficult. And Brett can speak to our invoices that they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And some of these come in and we're going to do a $10,000 job. And by the time they leave, it's a $50,000 job. Because they get in and they get excited, and we're all of us are hot rodders. And so if we can go a little faster, and the other car in the other bay, oh, he just put a turbo on. How much would it be to put a turbo on? I wasn't going to do a turbo, but now I want one. But what you got to do is, as soon as you do that, stop, factor in what those dollars look like, bring in the resources into the project account so they're parked there, and then you continue to move forward. So to me, these are just some really important fundamental things that the hot rod hell doesn't become a lawsuit, doesn't become breaking down respect from your customers, and build long-term customer base.
I hear you talking to generalities, which I'm really cool with. But at the same time, do you have one example where all of this kind of came into play, just like, where it was cool, and all of a sudden, because of your organization, the people had to back out for whatever reason, and you had to undo all that right there? What kind of feeling did that give you to be able to meet that, keep us out of hot rod hell? But more importantly, what kind of response did you get out of the customer? Because they had to either be heartbroken or something, that they couldn't get what they had always dreamed to have done at KSR. So how did you deal with that? And is there an example of that?
We actually have a real recent one, and there are videos happening right now about this car. So I won't use names other than the person that has the car now. But this is real life. So we had a fantastic young guy, has a young family at the time, just him and his wife. And he brought in a Camaro for us to build, drag and drive car, $200,000 bill. And he was in the position, everybody had the conversation, and we knew what the mission was, wrote nice big deposit check. We parked it like you're supposed to, did all those right things. And we were trucking along. We get, well into this thing, over $100,000 into this thing. He has a child with a medical issue. He has another child with a medical issue, right? Here is exactly where the system did its job. And man, I felt so good because we'd been putting it in place, but I would say he was probably one of the purest form of this. And so all of a sudden he reaches out to me and he goes, Tad, I'm in trouble, man. Like I've I've got to take care of my family. And I said, I completely get this. Here's what's wild. Between the dollars that were parked and the invoice that we had, we were at about $1,300 that was owed on his invoice. And there was more than that sitting in the account. You see what I'm saying? So we were able to literally pay off the $1,300 invoice because it hadn't got crazy. We always keep that money, pay ourselves and everything else. I give something out to the customer every time we do it. He can see money in, money out, money in, money out, money out. And so I was able to do that. I was able to get his money back to him. And then that car is the one that Steve Morris of Steve Morris Race Engines, he bought that car from that customer, which really worked out well for the customer. He got some cash back to him. And now Steve is building that for his wife. We are actually building it with Steve. And you can see our videos now of that. And so to me, and me and Steve actually had a conversation with us whenever we did that deal. And I said, hey, I have this account. He goes, man, I love that. And what I get over and over, like we've got a project we're doing from a guy in Hawaii. He sent us a car from Hawaii, never met him. It was all phone calls and Zoom call. And he sent this 63 Nova to us, sight unseen of seeing us in person, but he'd watched everything we did. And he's a business guy. I explained our process. I sent a document showing what we were doing, the whole process. He sends the car, sends a deposit, puts it in there, and we've been building the car. Now he's traveled over from Hawaii and seen the car. We're about halfway through with it. And one of the things he said, he goes, y'all's invoices are the most detailed explanations of what you're doing. And that's another thing to Shopmonkey. They give you this area where we're sticklers. We sit there because if I just tell you, hey, I mounted the radiator and you owe me $4,000, dude, how in the world can a radiator be $4,000? Kevin actually did a video on this. Well, by the time you fabricate, if you had to custom, these are all custom, right? So everything is one off. And so, but if you put in there in those notes, we did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. That's what gives the support and backs up that when a customer, you're billing that customer, they can go, oh, okay, that makes complete sense. It's still expensive because unfortunately today's world, this stuff is not cheap, but at least you're showing, and that Shopmonkey allows us to show that value of what we've done because of their note system. And I'll just add another, and I'm plugging Shopmonkey because they've been a huge piece for us, is that communication, they've got the little chat on the side. And you can just like hit up that customer because we get their email and their phone number tied to every invoice. We build out these 30+ page invoices. And at any given time, they can track their project, where it's at, how much is owed on it, what they've done, the notes, and it's stored. And eventually, when they're done, we hand them a whole book of everything that's happened on their project. So it's good stuff. Like, it's good.
So that's pretty much brings us back to what we were talking about in the very beginning. Between what you've come up with and what Shopmonkey's got, you have a high-performing shop playbook. And you know exactly how to execute, delegate, the whole 9 yards. Just kind of like, it's a how to do and do it right.
We like to think so, but we're learning. I'll say this, it's very important to know that we grow, make mistakes, grow, make mistakes, and that's the process. So we're learning every day, making mistakes every day because we're doing something. But I'll say things like Shopmonkey, when I reach out to them, they ride along, and they went from being a tool that was kind of formed for us, and they've done tons of work. Like literally, I was at PRI talking to Brett, and I said, hey, I've got this issue with this box that's not big enough when we're doing our notes. He really, and he got on there and he looked at it. He goes, we'll fix that. I think it was the next day. Like literally the box was bigger. And so I just can't say enough about them being in tuned. So.
Well, Tad, have you got anything else there you want to share with us? Because if not, we haven't had any questions from our folks that are watching. I would like to try to give them an opportunity to ask some questions, but I'd also like to ask Brett to come back on so that if we do get some questions that between the two of you, hopefully we can get some really good answers here. Because again, I have found this very intriguing. And once again, since my first exposure to Shopmonkey, it has been very much a pleasure to see that there's an organization out there like Shopmonkey that's made for companies like yourself, and they're helping and they're contributing to, I don't know, perfection. I mean, that's what we're all in the business for. I mean, whether you're building a hot rod or you're building a race car, the end game is I want something to be proud of. I don't want to have a ton of headaches. And I think that's the one thing that Shopmonkey has done since its creation. It's alleviated and given people like myself less stress because I have to sit down and try to figure it out myself. And then how do I apply it and everything like that? It's a nice shortcut, again, to perfection. Would you agree?
100% agree. And I would highly recommend anyone that's either got a shop now and they're trying to like I said, slam on the brakes and clean up, then reach out to Shopmonkey. Or if you're starting from scratch, start there. Don't start doing the work and then figure out how to back into it. So yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I would also
What do you
say
think,
that,
Brett?
I mean, look, there was a reason why we reached out to Tad, because he has such an amazing story. And not only is it a great story, in my opinion, it's a really important one. And here's why. I have far too many friends and acquaintances who have found themselves either in hot rod hell, which I heard about last year when Tad was sharing some information, who have either found themselves in hot rod hell, or I've had to, more than I want, help friends move equipment out of their shop because they've had to close it down.
Mm.
And it's not because they lacked talent. It's because they lacked an understanding that is not rocket science, but it's nuanced and it requires a lot of discipline. When Tad is talking about things about managing money and properly communicating with the customers and providing details and bringing them into the process and keeping emotions that might run high outside of the business versus in the business. When I've heard in various ways Tad talking about these sorts of things, it just kind of, not only did it speak to the logical side of my experience in the industry, but it also pulled at my heartstrings because, again, I've gone through those processes with friends of mine and people within the industry, and I've seen it far too often firsthand. So I wanted to make sure that, when we had an opportunity to talk again here on ePartrade, yeah, we've got new things that we want to talk about, and that's great. We've got, we're continually evolving the product, and that's wonderful. But at the end of the day, it's about what can make your audience better, what can make them better business owners. And I don't think I could have reached out to a better person than Tad to be able to share just a little bit of his experience, those things that he's mentioned. I was off camera, but I'm making notes for myself and I'm shaking my head constantly, yes, through all the things that he's talking about. So, that's my 2 cents and just some things I wanted to share.
Well, I appreciate both of you. I appreciate your testimony right there, Tad, and I'm really excited about the fact that, the partnership you have now with Shopmonkey is benefiting your organization like it is, and all the great things you're able to do. Because I think anybody who appreciates a good craftsman and a company that can do what they say they can do and then do it right, they're fun to watch and they're fun to be associated with. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We got one question, Jeff, if you want to address it.
Oh, let's see what we got here. I don't want to mess it up. Let's see what we got here. All right, yeah. Tad, do you use Shopmonkey payment system to invoice customers? And if so, how do you like it?
I absolutely do. We use Shopmonkey completely and fully. And so the payment system, like I said, the beauty of it is that it's all encompassed. And so, you can take a credit card, you can take cash right there. Now, here's one of the things that we use a lot is I can't tell you how many of our invoices are paid, online. So you've got that whole process where you send over, and a lot of times it's like, let's say, and so that I want to make sure that you see that I'm not talking out 2 sides of my face. Do we ever have things that we bill the customer after we do them? Absolutely. But here's the difference. It's $300, it's $500. I'm not even going to say we wouldn't do $1,000 and I didn't get any pre-money. Okay, so just know that when I'm talking about putting away chunks of funds, that's deposits for larger stuff. You still got to be cautious, but you can do that. So I just say that to say is that, let's say the guy drops off. Well, he did 2 days ago. He dropped off. He's building an S10. He's doing a whole front radiator custom aluminum deal. And so he drops off a bunch of parts and pieces to get with the techs. And this is a perfect example. Kevin doesn't, all those kind of things. Kevin doesn't even need to be involved anymore. He does everything else he's doing. The techs come up. I said, hey, we've got this. They look at it with the customer. They make the decision on what needs to be done. They do the work. The customer leaves. And this is what's pretty cool. We get all done. They come back and they say, hey, we got X amount of time. So I put that minute, the labor in there. I put the labor notes in there. We used X, aluminum, boom, boom, boom. I now shoot that off to the customer because I already got his email and I got his number. And so it shoots it off to him. He paid it like 2 minutes after I said hit send. He paid it. And so now we've got it. I'm not sitting there wondering if I'm going to get paid. He's already paid it. We've got his item. Then he comes back in and I don't have to oh, well, come on in here and we'll get you taken care of. Almost every time they pay before they even get to the shop. So yes, we use the daylights out of it.
Well, that's a great testimonial right there. But
Well, that's it, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. Again, it's great to have Shopmonkey back on here and get a chance to talk to Brett and be able to see where some of his handiwork is benefiting our industry like it is. It's again, it's refreshing and puts a smile, I think, on Judy and Francis, at least, and myself's face, because again, this is what we do these webinars for, is to be able to help people to see where they can go to try to get a solution.
Well, appreciate the
said.
opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. So this webinar has been recorded. It will be distributed later through the Portrait platform, or newsletters, and via our social media channels. We push Shopmonkey's video back on the homepage of the Portrait platform. So please visit eportrait.com for more information and updates. Next webinar will be with Peterson Fried System. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you.
ePartTrade is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
ePartTrade, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
ePartTrade really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
Where will you find Farea Racing components? Circle track, drag racing, and any top race shop. In every form of motorsports competition, our valves and valve train components deliver race-proven design and technology. And we've brought that same performance to our street applications as well. We're backed by 5 decades of experience, an extensive range of off-the-shelf components, and our custom valve department has the fastest turnaround times in the industry. Farea Racing Components. Stand with us or race against us.